Good morning, this is Norma Cowie, and once more, here I am on a Wednesday for Norma Talks. Today is an interesting day for me in many ways, but one in our area, we have had tremendous winds and rains. Consequently, many of the communities, not where I am, thank goodness, everything's good here, but around have been flooded out. Roads are down. A major highway has a bridge that's gone down that'll possibly take months to fix. So there's going to be a lot of upheaval and a lot of time of drying out because they just can't figure it out. Like, what do you do when first of all, you have water, it goes away and leaves a mess. We have communities that are stranded and they've had to evacuate people in one way or another. I'm incredibly lucky at this particular event, you might say, which has taken a lot of the province in one way or another, hasn't touched my town that I know of. And I was looking this morning and I didn't see anything about that. But you know, have you ever experienced the power of water? I had an event happen to me in Hawaii. Just excuse me a second. A terrible thing to do when you're recording and your nose begins to feel like it's dripping. I spent my childhood in New Zealand on the beaches and knew how to dive through waves and knew all of that. Anyway, many years ago now, but we were in the big island of Hawaii, and we decided, the couple that my then husband and myself had another couple, we decided to go to this beach. We didn't know when we went that it is actually being called Suicide Beach. But anyway, and I'll tell you that story in a minute, but I want getting the power of water. So anyway, it's got nice waves coming in, this little bay, and the waves are coming in. And I decided to walk from where I was out in towards the shore, but the waves were coming in, and I thought, oh, I'll just dive through the wave, which I did for years as a kid. Well, I didn't dive deep enough. And the wave took me and it threw me, basically, just picked me up like a leaf. I often thought, oh, I'd like a leaf. And it threw me onto the sand where I landed on one of my shoulders. I'm scrambling to find my feet before the next wave comes and to get out of there. And anyway, I survived. But I found out later that many people have experienced things like that, and they've had broken necks, and that's why was called Suicide Beach. But it was the power of the water, and we forget that. We sit and we look at gentle rivers running down, or we look at other things, the sea, and it looks all beautiful. But if you ever come into contact with that power, nothing stands in its way when it makes up its mind. And I know that a few people have lost their lives with what's happened in our province. And I think, that power, how is that power? Now, then let's take it here personally. We have a personal power. How much of that personal power do we use, or how much do we give away to others? If anybody's been in any kind of an abusive relationship, they know what I'm talking about. There comes a point of time when you claim your personal power and you say, that's enough, I'm not putting up with this anymore, or I'm not doing this anymore, whatever it may be. But how do we get to that personal power? How do we get to understand the strength that we have in us? And I often find if you have a sense of spiritual understanding, or you have a philosophy where you realize there is another strength, there is an ability to be able to have some support, it helps. But if you think that you are without personal power, if you don't recognize that there is an unseen power that can help you and support you, that can become troublesome. That can become for you, because it's like you don't really claim your power. And very often we will react. Now, personal power is not reacting. Personal power is to be able to stand there and say, no, or enough, or I'm out of this. I used to take, I used to have arguments with either of my husbands, I would go for a walk and think about it and then come back and be sane, not angry or frustrated or whatever. But it's like most people don't always have that power to do that. And I didn't, in the end, in my second marriage, stand up for myself too well at all. I was kind of, in a way, it was a little psychological drip, 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 and you kind of lose your power. And it took me quite a while after I was by myself to get that back, to come back into my personal power. And it's a little bit like an elastic band. If you stretch an elastic band out, it never goes back to its original. And I think anytime that you have lost that sense of yourself, even though you refined it in lots of different ways, you're not ever quite the same as to when you're in your fullness of that personal power. Some people never lose any of it. They just are able to maintain that sense, but also can understand the other side. I was laughing at myself because my hair this morning, with this one part of my hair wouldn't lay down. I had this little thing sticking up here, and I'm drawing my attention to it because I even got some, stuff that you can put on your hair and make it kind of go where you want it to go. And it refused. I said, not doing that this morning. We're just going to stick up. So I tried doing this to make it stick up, and it didn't quite work as well because it still wanted to be on its own. And that's very often what happens. We have a chink in what we want to do, or we have a kind of that this is the line. We're not going to give up any of our personal power. We're not going to do whatever. And I'm just going to go back to the water that's raging through in some of the rivers that have come through and knocked down bridges and things like that. If there's any little weakness around water, water will find it. But water is emotion, represents emotion. Water is energy, yes, but it also represents emotion. So let's talk about emotion for a moment. We can't ignore how we feel. And I find that's often what we tend to do. And as a woman growing up in kind of another time where really women's emotions were looked at in a different way than perhaps they are today. But it's at least to oneself. One needs to be able to name the feeling. I find the power is in naming how you feel. Most people don't know how they feel. They really don't. Well, what do you feel about? They don't know. I find they give me a thinking word. And I'll say, well, that's a thinking word. I need a feeling word. And to be able to go from your head, we'll say, into your heart and into the feeling, into the emotions, when the emotions relate to the body. And as it has been reported, I believe we're 98% or close to it of water anyway. So it's like, where's the electricity? How does that emotional energy move through us? What does it do and how does it work? So one of the things of being in our power, our personal power, is really to be able to address and know what it is you're feeling. And we often will not want to see that. We don't want to know those feelings. We're going to hide. We're going to put them somewhere else. I spoke on my Sunday Thought about where we're frozen in space and time, and how there's parts of us that are frozen that we don't want to look at, and to be able to look at some old memories. And I actually had a friend tell me how was talking to me and said how they had looked at some memories that they had really stuck away and went, oh gosh, how did I get through that? And so it's like, sometimes it's acknowledgement that no matter what, we're still here today. I'm really great, or big, I should say, in the sense of being in the present. But am I always in the present? No. I have a past. I have things I want in the future still. And so it's like we often can live in the future or we can live in the past. But the reality is we're here. It's now that we make our decisions about now and where we want to go. The past is about acceptance, forgiveness, and an allowingness of, yes, you went through that, but an acceptance inside, an acceptance and the awareness of who you are and where you're going. And then when you look ahead, when you look ahead, you're projecting. And you're always trusting and hoping for the best, and you make your plans and your goals and what you're wanting to do and how you want to do that. But all of it begins now. And that's what I find often is that people don't know how to be in the present. They're either locked in the past of something that happened to them, Doesn't mean that you can't look back and assess, but it doesn't mean you stay there and that it rules everything, because then you've given your power to the past. Then you've given the power to maybe a person or a situation or events, not personally accepting where you are now and where you want to go. The same thing is for those who begin to project ahead. Well, someday or one day and maybe, and we want this and we want that, but it's not here. The reality, one day I remember saying, well, I say this quite often, is that I really work to be a reality thinker. This is my reality. Now, where do I want to go from here? Because until you accept your reality, you're not going to have any power. You're going to be stuck in the past or stuck in the future where you're not ever been. And as we know, history tends to repeat itself. If you haven't come to terms with what's gone on before, you're going to have it repeated and repeated in different forms, yes, but the same essence. So being in your personal power really, really makes a big difference. And I just want to touch on one more thing today. And I will probably talk about this a little bit more. Most of you know I do this energy transformation work, which covers a big area, and sometimes the sessions take quite a long time. But lately I had noticed that the soul was showing up, and often souls show up at a certain time in a progression when we're clearing things. Souls do show up, but they've been showing up, and I've been running into energy I hadn't quite run into before. And I was going, and I hadn't really put it all together till this last Sunday when I was working with a longtime client. And even then I didn't put it together until after, when I was having a conversation with another friend about what is happening and going on in our world right now. And then I began to realize I am working more with souls that are needing repair. And I hadn't ever had that before. Souls can feel this or that or be stuck somewhere, but not in the sense of needing repair. And so what is creating the need for repair? Obviously, we've lost a sense of who we are. Obviously, our personal power has kind of gone on little wings somewhere. But the soul is the essence of you. Oh gosh, I'm getting teary. This has got to watch for that. And it's like the soul goes with you in your whole journey since you first came out as a soul and the beautiful beingness of who you are. And in this planet, which is an emotional planet, according to me, it's like the soul has had to adapt to about emotion and working. And I understand that. But to feel lost, like it needs repairing, I'm not sure where that's coming from, but it's definitely here. And so I just want to say, for anyone who's listening, if you kind of feel disconnected, if you're kind of feeling like you're really a bit lost, you might need to find somebody like myself that can go and work with your soul and repair it so that you can keep that contact alive. Because as we know, if the soul leaves, you're no more, number one. But you can become, I guess, disconnected in some way that you're still become more like an automaton going on. And we want you to be in your personal power. We want you to grow. We want you to understand the bigger picture of life and the spiritual awareness and the spiritual knowledge of who you truly are. You are a wonderful being. You're a human being which has choice. You don't have to just follow orders. We're not like soldiers follow orders. Are we soldiers? I thought we're individuals. We're not in the army, or are we? Maybe that's what we're being trained to do, is just say yes, sir, and no, sir. No, that's not what humanity is about, according to me, of course. According to me, is that I love the individuality. I love the way people have managed through tremendous odds. You talk about people who have come through hardship, war times, concentration camps. You listen to them, listen to what they have to say. And there's a resilience in them that they overcame adversity, and they didn't stay in the past, because those that stay in the past don't progress. But they came present. They can look, they can acknowledge, they can accept what's happened, but they move forward. And mostly, guess what thing they talk about? is being happy and joyous, finding the little things that you enjoy. So find those little things that you enjoy. Stay connected to your soul. Make sure that you feel that love inside yourself and know that the greater power that loves you and cares about you is there. But it doesn't come and tap you. So sometimes it does tap. I must clarify that. Some people do get tapped on the shoulder and say, here, I'm here. But most of it's a matter of awareness and allowing it inside. So just take a moment, think about your life, think about what makes you happy. Think about the adversities maybe that you've had and how you've overcome them, or are you still stuck back there? All of those things, because today is a day about personal power. And I want each one of you to experience your own personal power by making your own choices, by making your own awareness, because you are part of the whole. And we all need to be together, to work together, to create a harmonic, is that the word? I think that's the word, planet. I want to thank you for today. I want to thank you. Remember, if you want to contact me personally, please go through my website, normacowie.com. What else? Thank you for your subscriptions. I appreciate that, and your comments and sharing. Yes, sharing is a big thing. So thank you very, very much. Wish you well. Have a great week. I'll see you on Sunday.